Hey everybody, Alan Butler here with Butler Contracting. Today we're going to talk about 3 things that you should know about fence permits in Austin, Texas. And if you stick around, we'll give you a 4th bonus tip. That's right, for today, wait, there's more. It's all free, so stick around. So before we get too far in the weeds here and all of this, if you could go down below, it'd really mean a world to us if you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that little bell notification button so you know when we actually upload new cool content so you can check it out when it comes out hot off the press. So thank you. We appreciate that. So today we're going to get into 3 things you should know when it comes to fence permitting in Austin, Texas. Now, what does a crazy company from Bastrop know about Austin fence permitting? Well, surprisingly, we get called a lot about fence projects in Austin. And we also get a lot of questions about, do I need a permit? Is a permit required? What kind of fence can I build? Backyard, front yard? And there's a whole slew of things that we get asked all the time. So we thought it was best to make a video so everybody had a little bit of understanding of what exactly is required when it comes to a fence permit in Austin, Texas. First thing you should need to know is, do you need a permit to build a fence in Austin? Well, that's a fantastic question. And in most cases, I will say, no, you don't. But there are some qualifications that you must meet in order to not need a fence permit in Austin. One of those things is, generally speaking, if your fence is 7 foot or less and it's not a solid fence, you don't need a permit. Now, one of the reasons for this is in a floodplain situation, if you have a fence that's less than 7 foot, it's not a problem if it has open, like an ornamental iron or something chain link that allows water to flow through it. If it's a closed fence, like a privacy fence, and it's greater than 7 feet, there could be some issues or problems there. So you definitely need to check to make sure whether or not you're in a floodplain. In addition, you cannot build a fence that's over 8 foot tall in Austin, Texas. If it's 8 foot or above, it's not allowed. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule on that, and we'll get into that here in just a second. So basically, the things to know is that, A, you don't typically need a fence. If it's just a standard privacy fence or a chain link fence or something that's 7 foot and below, unless you live in a floodplain, you do not need a permit. 7 foot and above, when we get to that 8 foot height measurement, anything 8 foot and above, there are special circumstances where you can get into to build those things. Number 2, if you have a fence that's over 8 foot tall, how do you get to build that? Great question. So there is a process through the permitting process through the city of Austin. You have to actually fill out a fence permit application, submit that to the city of Austin. They review it, and it actually has to go through the Board of Adjustments. The Board of Adjustments will review your case and your situation and authorize whether or not you can actually build a fence that's 8 foot or taller. Now, in some situations or circumstances, this may be needed. Maybe you live next to an area that's a commercial facility and you want more privacy and more sound barrier. Perhaps you have an area that's going to create a safety situation. Maybe you have a pool or something that could be easily climbed at that 6 or 7 foot level. Maybe you need something that's taller to make that area safer. So these are things that would typically be approved by the Board of Adjustments during that permitting process. But in general, you can't just go to the Board of Adjustments and say, I want to build a 10 foot tall fence to build a fortress around your home. That's probably not going to get approved. You have to have a specific reason why and have that board review that and approve it. Number 3, one of the things that we get asked pretty often is, are there any regulations about what kind of fence that I can put in my house or put on my property in Austin? That's a great question. Now, the city of Austin in general, they do not regulate the types of materials that you can put for a fence on your property. Where you may have some issue or something to consider is going through your HOA, your Architectural Control Committee. Those are the areas where you might have more specifics about what type of materials or styles of fences are allowed and what aren't. So you want definitely check in to that level of the Architectural Control Committee, the HOA, figure out what their permitting rules and regulations might be. But as far as materials, that would be taken care of at the more granular level with the ACC, Architectural Control Committee, or your HOA and what their specific rules and requirements might be. So, now you've stuck around this long, you've heard all my jabber about the 3 things you should know about permitting fences in Austin, so we're going to give you that 4th bonus item. One of the things that's a hot button topic in the community around the area is a thing called safe fences. Now, while this might not be a rule or regulation currently in the city of Austin, there is a strong push within the city as well as at the state level for safe fences. Well, you may say, Mr. Butler, what the heck is a safe fence? I mean, you put a fence up, aren't they safe? Well, a lot of folks have come to the terms that these ornamental style fences that have pickets at the top, like a little 3 to 4 inch picket at the top with decorative designs. There's been some cases where pets or wildlife get hung up and caught in those, and unfortunately there have been some cases where small children have been hung up in them and actually have died from it. So it creates great injury. There's even been cases where some folks have fallen off a ladder, off a roof, some workers or just some DIY project homeowners that have fallen and been impaled on these things. So there is a big, strong push to not allow them anymore and try to get that rule overturned. So we just want to make you aware of it. Sometimes those decorative, pretty designed fences are nice, but there are some safety concerns along with it as well, from pets, wildlife, and humans as well. So we just want to make sure that you're aware of it. It may or may not be right for you. You might be okay with it, or you may really want to consider putting in a different option. There are some options not to have those spindles on the top. You can still get wrought iron and ornamental iron with a solid top bar on it. Just some things to think about. If you're interested in learning more, we do have an article down below here you can click on and learn more about safe fencing. And you can also learn more about permitting fences in Austin at the blog article below. So we hope you learned something today. Again, click that like, share, and notification button down below and check us out. And we hope to see you on your next project.